Go ahead and continue to share your introductions in the chat. And good evening. My name is Lisa Marshall. I am the Director of Organizing and Advocacy with New Yorkers for Clean Power. And I'm here tonight with Kim Fracek of Sane Energy Project and my colleague Melissa Iachetta, also from New Yorkers for Clean Power. And we are representing the Renewable Heat Now campaign. This is our monthly grassroots meeting, which we moved from 7 to 6:30 because our member of Renewable Heat Now, Food and Water Watch, that does such great organizing, is also having their grassroots meeting tonight at 7. So I'm sure a lot of you are probably planning to go to that meeting after this one. So we will just get this meeting started and get it through by 7 p.m. See a lot of folks thankful and grateful for the rain after this drought, and I am too, even though it is actually snowing big, messy snowflakes here at my house, and I'll be even more grateful for it if my husband gets home safely from work. So tonight we have a nice little quick and action-packed agenda for you. We'll do our intro to our campaign, talk a little bit about the state energy plan and how we can help to influence it. Then we're going to talk about our legislative campaign timeline and some upcoming actions, and then we'll let you get out of here. So thanks. Next slide, please. I'm sorry about the barking. So we are Renewable Heat Now. Renewable Heat Now is not an organization. It is not a nonprofit. It is a campaign made up of 20 or more organizations. These range from national organizations to tiny little nonprofits that are local in New York State and everything in between. We have industry groups. We have grassroots direct action groups and sort of policy groups, and we all work together for building decarbonization in New York State, meaning getting fossil fuels out of buildings. And why is this so important? Well, buildings are New York's largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. That's also called climate pollution. And that's because almost buildings in New York are using fossil fuels for heating, hot water, and cooking. And a lot of our buildings are heating with fracked gas that we know leaks. Sorry, I might have to do something about this dog. And that methane gas that leaks has a really outsized warming impact on the atmosphere, especially in the first 10 years and 20 years that it's in the atmosphere. So that's why we really focus on those buildings and fossil fuels out of them. Kim, can I ask you to just take over for me real quick while do something about the dog? Oh, you can't hear the dog? Okay. All right. I'll just keep going then. Next slide. So I wanted to bring everybody's attention to something called the State Energy Plan. This is something that happens in New York every 5 years. And this is really a plan that plans out New York's energy policy for the next 15 years. So it's super important, and it's a little bit of something that people might not be aware of. We actually haven't done a state energy plan process in a while because when we were doing the climate action scoping plan, they didn't do the state energy plan process. They just sort of said that the scoping plan counted as an update to the previous plan. So this is a long process, and the first part is the planning board meets. They met in September, and they put out shortly after that meeting something called a scope. And the scope is a document that says what should the state energy plan cover. And they've put the scope out for comment, and that is a place where we can really impact the scope. Now, there's lots of things that can be said about the scope, but Renewable Heat Now has prepared a comment that's really only about the buildings portion of the draft scope and some things that we want to emphasize. Some of these are already in the scope, and we just want to emphasize how important we think they are. And some of them are not in the scope, and we think that they should be. So these 6 points in this comment, we would like for hundreds of people in New York to submit a comment that contains these points. And we have it all queued up for you in Action Network. Kim, are you able to put the link to the comment
Yes.
in the slides?
Melissa's got it.
Oh, Melissa's got it. Okay. So I'm just going to pause. And if you could click on that link and submit a comment. Right now, I'm going to give you just a minute to do that. And I see the request for the Food and Water Watch link, and I was looking for that right before this meeting so I could share it with you. I'll get it for you before the end of the meeting and share it at the end. So if you just take a minute to go to that comment in the link right now and submit that comment, because we have just over 100 comments already submitted, and we're really looking, we set a goal of 750 comments, so we have a ways to go. Luckily, the deadline for these comments was Monday, but it just got extended until December 16th. So we have time to get lots of comments in. And I see we're up to 119. I'm watching the number of comments go up as we speak. Now, if you have already submitted a comment, that is wonderful. But now we're going to ask you to maximize your impact by texting this link that I'm going to put in the chat to this link is for what we call a link tree. It has all of our current actions in it. And if you cut and copy that link to our link tree and text it or Facebook message it to some of your friends or acquaintances, people that you know care about climate, and ask them also to submit a comment. And let's and then put in the chat, you know, who did you text it or message it to? You don't have to give me their name, but like you could be like my sister, my dad, my neighbor, my friend at work, my kids who are at college, but they still live in New York. The key is just to make sure that the person is in New York, because New York doesn't really care about comments from out of state. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that too. And then can you write in the chat who you messaged it to? I'm going to write some of the people I messaged it to. Okay, wow, we're up to 130 comments now. So we're getting there. I'm just going to give you a few more seconds to send it as a Facebook message or a text and ask everybody to submit a comment. And we can keep doing that after this call, because we now have an extension till December 16th to get these comments submitted. Okay. Any questions about the state energy plan? Just put your question in the chat and I'm happy to answer them. I guess what I'll say is after this comment period ends, in a couple of months, the state will put out the final scope, and then they will put out a draft plan. Now my dog is sitting on my laptop. Then there will be another opportunity to comment on the actual plan itself. And there will be public hearings. The public hearings will be all over the state, and they will be probably next summer. So Renewable Heat Now will be, of course, reaching out to all of you to comment and show up in person at these public hearings to make some of these points. And that is going to be, and then the final energy plan will come out later next year. So this is just a comment on the scope, but of course, if something important's not in the scope, then it's not going to be in the plan. So it's very important to get the scope right so that the plan is right. The new deadline is December 16th for the scope. People are asking. Thank you, Francesca. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, So since our last power hour, we had an election, and there's no time or space on this call for us all to share what we think the meaning of this election is for the climate. I'm sure that, like many of us, all of you who care about the climate are quite concerned about what this election may mean. But one thing we can all agree on is that it's really up to the states like New York now to lead on climate. We cannot depend on leadership from the federal government. In fact, we'll probably see the exact opposite of leadership. And while our state is literally on fire, this picture is from the New York Times of that big fire on the New York New Jersey border. We need to remind Governor Hochul that it's up to her to lead. She cannot look to she has to be a leader on climate. So I'm going to ask everybody to send her another email. I'm sure you've already emailed her before, but let's email her again. And we have a link we're putting in the chat for our email tool. And let's just send Governor Hochul a quick email and remind her that it's super important for New York to lead on climate, and she needs to put the New York Heat Act in her budget. Do we have that link already, or do I need to share it? It's hard for me to read people's messages to me while I'm facilitating, so I apologize. I see some people are trying to message me. Okay. Thank you, Melissa. And Kim. So this link here that's the p2a.co/en blah, blah, blah. That's the link to our comment tool. And if you go in there, you see there's a pre-written letter that asks Governor Hochul to put the New York Heat Act into the budget. This is, as you probably all know, since you're on this meeting, our cornerstone piece of legislation that will end the gas mandate, allow the utilities to invest in clean energy solutions in our homes and buildings, and stop expanding the gas system endlessly for billions and billions of dollars, and also give bill relief to over 1 million households in New York who are paying more than 6% of their household income on their energy bills. So this is our key piece of legislation. We got so close to passing this last year, and sadly we didn't pass it, partly because um, things sort of fell apart in Albany in the last day of the session. So uh, we really have to pass it this year, and we're putting a lot of pressure on the governor to show leadership at this time. Okay, I think that is it for me, and I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to my wonderful colleague Kim at St. Energy Project. She's going to talk us through the legislative timeline for getting New York Heat passed and some of the upcoming things that we're going to do.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you all so much for being here today and just caring about the things that we know are important and how we can build. I just want to always express gratitude towards people, especially now, because we're all in such a tender moment. Here is a timeline, and sometimes it's kind of good to look back on where we've come from and look forward to where we're going. So what we've accomplished in October is we circulated that building electrification letter. We got 242 signers onto that letter of organizations across the state, which is awesome. And then we did the day of action when we sent the letter to Governor Hochul, and we called her office. We made 110 calls. We tweeted to her, and we Facebook messaged her, and we did all the things. So that's good. We got in early about what our demands are going to be for her January speech. Then November, where we are now, we've had election day. And now we're preparing for our December action. So the point of this distributed action in December, which we'll go into a little bit later, distributed just means like many of them across different regions. So we want to make sure that we are continuing to pound home to Governor Hochul the points that we made in the letter that we sent to her in October. So we're all preparing for those now, thinking through like, what do we want to where do we want to do them? Where do we want to grow? Who do we want to invite? And then there's also the Power Hour, which we are currently in right now. We're right on schedule. And then the state energy plan comments. I'm very happy that the comment deadline got bumped to December 16th, and you have all done an amazing job at getting them in tonight. So next month, we're going to do the December statewide action days. We were originally doing them on 12/12. If some of you remember, just want to update folks that we're going to do a range of dates because we learned that the Assembly and the Senate have like retreats in Albany. So we want to make sure that we can get our elected officials at these December events. We're going to have another Power Hour just like this on the 19th, so we can come back and share all the amazing actions and photos that we did. We'll want to be recruiting our friends, our colleagues, our people that are like, I want to get involved, but I don't know where to start. Bring them along with us. And then we'll move into January. This is where Governor Hochul is going to make her state of the state. And all the work that we've been doing leading up to this point is hoping that she says the things that we want, and that will be in her state of the state. And then when it says executive budget, that's Governor Hochul's budget. That's coming from the executive chamber. So she'll put forth her budget for the year. We want to, at this point, work with all of our bill sponsors for the New York Heat Act, for the Green Pre-Electrification Act, for the Renewable Capital Act. We want to just make sure that we push with our bill sponsors, make sure that that gets very much highlighted. Continuing to recruit for our January 29th big action in Albany. And then the 29th will be the rally. In February, we're gonna want to pressure both the Assembly and the governor, because what happens is after that, they have budget hearings. So this is before the Assembly and the Senate put forth their budgets. So we want to make sure that we can potentially align with our elected officials who will be in those budget hearings and make, hopefully we can coach them and all the things on what we would like to see come out of these budget hearings. And then there's one House budget negotiations in February. So one House just means that there's a budget in the Assembly and there's a budget in the Senate. And that's the Senate and the Assembly are negotiating with their own prospective houses and like what they want to see in the budget. So we're going to be doing a lot of lobbying during that time. We want our talking points to be in their brain at all moments. Then we'll move on to March, and the one House budgets, the Senate and the Assembly budgets will come out. And remember, Governor Hochul's already put her executive budget in. So there's 3 budgets, right? Then those 3 budgets go into negotiations. And we're going to have another mobilization around that time, specifically because we want to influence that, right? We are organizers and activists. We are here to influence power. And the final budget comes out, it's supposed to be out on April 1st. The last couple of years, it has been a little bit late, but that's the standard. And we'll find out like if the New York Heat Act is in the budget, for instance. And if so, we'll celebrate. If not, we'll just keep working harder through May. Just stay in touch. That's sort of our timeline, just to set people up. Next slide. So just I wanted to do a little bit, like open up that October 23rd Day of Action that we did. That was the 4th year that us as a collective, Renewable Heat Now, has sent a building electrification letter about the renewable goals that we want for New York State to the governor. So give a hand to yourself for being a part of the 4th annual letter to the governor. And we had 110 people participate in calling the governor that day. We had a good social media push. The hashtag was Justice Week 2024 because there was a big national energy justice week. So we sort of partnered with our friends in DC who are doing energy work on the national level. Let's see, I should put some links in the chat.
We got you. We got you.
Oh, great. Amazing. I love you guys. Okay, next slide. Okay. Now, the December days of action. So we are now not calling it the 12/12 action. We are now the December days, many days of action. We're thinking 12/12 through 12/16 sort of thing, like crammed in so we can pack a punch in the media. We're targeting Governor Hochul in these actions. There are already either actions already underway and being planned, or there are people that have said, I want to build an action and I'll get to starting to plan it. So on this screen, there are all these locations where we've had people say, hey, I want to plan an action here. So if you live near one of those, by all means, join one of those, and you can do so at the link, the bit.ly December NY Heat. And, if you see something that isn't in your neck of the woods, you can also go to that website and create your own, and you'll get a pin on the map that if you're in the Adirondacks, that would be amazing to have an action up there. So our goal is, 12 actions around the state. We would welcome way more. I mean, it would be great if we can get a wave of actions. And these actions can be anything from a rally or a press conference to take place outside, like an electrified building. It could be a tour of an electrified building. Bring the press, bring an elected official. You could show what the future is, and point out a place where fossil fuel infrastructure is being built and like what we can do about that. We're still sort of wordsmithing the event name. We just have it as December Days of Action. The distributed actions can all make their own titles for your own action. So if you have like something local that is like a term that you all like know what that means, that maybe other people outside your area, by all means, like make it cute, make it awesome, make it fun. So we have the actions that are listed on here. Please, if you're interested in working on one of these or interested in putting one together for yourself, put your contact information in the chat before we close this Zoom today.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
Kim?
Lisa, sure.
Awesome. So just so you know, if you want to organize an action, you're not all on your own. We have lots of support for you. We will send you signs and t-shirts and handouts for your action. We'll send you a sample press advisory. We have people who can send that to the media for you once you fill it out. We will offer you lots of different kinds of support that you might need. You're not all on your own. We have guidance for speakers. We have talking points. We have everything you need to put your action together. So if your group wants to do an action, you're not trying to figure it all out by yourself. And these actions are all different. Like there's going to be a film screening. There's going to be some experts at a pub with children's activities. There's going to be an energy affordability evening up in Harlem with experts from the Public Utility Law Project to help people make sure they're enrolled in energy savings programs for their bills. There's going to be regular old stand-up press conferences. So there's all different kinds of actions being planned, and we are happy to help you get both linked up with the actions that are already happening or help you support your own. And the ones, as Kim said on this graphic, have all committed. They aren't all, though, on the Action Network yet because some of them are still working out the exact location and time. They're trying to work around the availability of their speakers usually. So that sometimes takes a while. All right. Sorry to interrupt, Kim.
No,
Back
I
to
mean,
you.
you covered what I was just about to cover, so that's awesome. So we can
Okay.
go to the next slide. So just to, so you know, so the governor's budget will come out in early January. We'll kind of know where we are, where we need to pivot for pressuring the Assembly and the Senate. So we're really, really organizing to make sure, hundreds of people sign up for this. We need to fill the hallways. We'll be lobbying, we'll be rallying, we'll be having fun, we'll share food and share love with each other. So yeah, please get this art this out. I'll let somebody answer Carol's question in the chat. Um, and then next slide, please. Great. So this is the final slide. We just have 2 minutes left. So I just wanted to review with you all. So sending the comment for the state energy plan and sharing the link in your network. Make sure to stay tuned for the statewide December actions updates, the December 19th Power Hour, the January 23rd Power Hour, which will be really important because we'll be going to Albany the following week. So we may want to just refresh ourselves on like our aim and talking points and things like that. And I just want to end right there and just let you guys know that you're all incredible and amazing. And we're so grateful for you all to come here. And yeah, I hope you all have a beautiful evening.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm going to put some links. Here's the link to the Food and Water Watch meeting that's at 7. And then I'm going to give you the links to the December and January power hours so that you can sign up and get reminded for those. I'm going to grab those links for you right now. And thank you so much, Kim. Thanks, Melissa, for running the back end. And if you guys have questions, continue to put those in the chat. And we'll stay on for another 5 minutes or so. Here's the
Yeah, I did offer to walk people through like a teach-in for this hour. Um, I can't remember what I offered. Oh, if
the
people needed, what did I
Canva.
offer? What was that, Lisa?
Canva.
Canva. If people want a little tutorial on making your own graphic for Canva, I'm happy to like walk you through it.
That's for the upcoming events. Okay, here's the January power hour sign up. I just made that. So there it is. And we'll just give you a chance to continue be on with the links. And thank you guys. That was the speediest power hour in history, the power half hour. We're so good, we can do it in half the time now.
I think it's nice having a half an hour.
Yeah, just a little speedy check-in.
Patricia, in the draft scope letter, there are talking points in the link that you would sign. And we pre-filled something in. You're welcome to erase that whole thing and write your own letter, or you can leave that in and also weave in your own story to the top of it. But on that page, there is talking points that we hope to convey to the Energy Planning Board.
Yes, and I'll just explain quickly where we took those talking points from. There's a long letter on buildings that was drafted by Anshul Gupta of New Yorkers for Clean Power, Josh Berman, a lawyer with the Sierra Club, and Malak Nazaruddin from the Building Decarbonization Coalition. And that's a letter for organizations to sign on to. And if you represent an organization that you're not sure if they've signed on yet, please let me know and I'll send you that letter for sign on. But that letter is about 6 pages long and goes into depth on all of these points. And our comment is sort of a very like public facing, simple educational way to get those 6 points on buildings across. It's a great way to share with people who aren't knee deep in energy policy and buildings to understand what it is we're asking for in a clear, or we hope it's a clear and direct way, and it helps to sort of educate while we're also making comments, the public on what it is we're trying to do here as we try to move towards reducing our carbon pollution. So it's the the comment sort of goes with the letter, and the letter is for organizations, and the comments for individuals, if that makes sense. And then, of course, there's going to be other organizations doing comments for other parts of the scope, or other campaigns doing comments for other parts of the scope. And there's no reason you can't submit more than one different kind of comment. You can submit your own personal comment too. But what we're really looking for is for a lot of people power to go behind these key points on buildings, since we are a buildings campaign. Hope that makes sense. And I'm going to put our link tree again in the chat. The link tree is really useful because we really try to keep it up to date with all of what's going on. So we don't put the power hours in there because we don't want people joining the power hours just to um, cause trouble, and it's pretty public. But we do put like anything like the comments, the upcoming mobilizations, the upcoming December actions are all easily found in that one link tree. And if you don't know where to find this link tree, or you've lost that link, you can go to the Renewable Heat Now Instagram, and on the account, the link tree is linked there. So that's, you can always find it. So if you want to like, oh, where's that link to this, that, or the other, you don't have to sort through all your emails and look for the last email that I sent you. You can just find it there. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. I think then without further ado, we'll shut it down. Yeah.
Thank you.